Hey y'all, I'm Tracy. Welcome to Just Dig It Farms. Today we're going to take a look at 7 different herbs that I'm growing here in my potager garden. I'm growing a lot more than 7 herbs here in the potager garden, but I've chose these 7 to talk to you about today because they're blooming and they're ready to be harvested. So the first one we're going to look at is purple coneflower or Echinacea. Purple coneflower or Echinacea is most commonly known as the immune boosting herbs. It is a powerful immune booster and is really helpful in colds and flus. So you may be familiar with Echinacea as an immune booster. This beautiful herbaceous perennial is Echinacea. And Echinacea likes to grow in full sun. Maybe a little bit of afternoon shade it would tolerate, but mostly it enjoys full sun to get to these fabulous blooms. It's hardy in zones 3 to 9. It's drought tolerant, heat tolerant, and it'll get about 3 to 4 feet tall, and it spreads nicely because it multiplies from the root. It produces these beautiful flowers and blooms that the pollinators love. As you can see right here, these butterflies and bees and all kinds of different beneficial insects are working these coneflowers and they love it. And the beauty of this plant is it will continue to bloom throughout the summer. There's all different kinds of cultivars of Echinacea available with beautiful bold oranges and yellows and whites and different colors available. But if you are growing Echinacea for medicinal purposes, then you need to stick with the straight species, which this one right here is angustifolia, Echinacea angustifolia. The leaves are a little bit longer and more narrow, and this is the angustifolia species, or the Echinacea purpurea. Those are the two that are used for medicinal purposes. They have the highest medicinal properties in them. All of the other cultivars are beautiful. I suggest you grow them. They're gorgeous in the garden. The pollinators still love them, but definitely grow the Echinacea purpurea or angustifolia for your medicinal purposes. So this one is the Echinacea angustifolia. And this one is the Echinacea purpurea. And you can see a big difference between the two in the bloom and in the leaves. But these are both excellent for medicine. We partnered with Hoss Tools last year and created 2 different medicinal herb seed collections that have my top 20 favorite medicinal herbs in them. This Echinacea here is in the deluxe collection, and I grew this one right here from seed last year, and it's already producing a lot of beautiful flowers. It's multiplied and producing a lot of beautiful flowers for me to use this year. If you're starting Echinacea from seed, they take about 15 to 20 days to germinate. So don't get discouraged if it's not come up very quickly. Also, a few other tips when starting your Echinacea seed is they require cold stratification and they need light to germinate. So don't cover them thickly with soil or they won't germinate. When making medicine, the part of the Echinacea plant that's used is the whole plant. You can use the whole plant of the Echinacea. So you can use the leaves, you can use the flowers, you can use the seeds, you can use the stems, and you can use the roots. A good thing to remember when you're harvesting different parts of an herb is to harvest the part of the plant where the most energy is concentrated at that time. So, for instance, right now, the energy is concentrated mostly in the flower of this plant. That's where all of the energy is going right now, is to create this beautiful flower. Now, when it starts going to seed, the energy will be going into developing the seed so that it can reproduce itself. Now, when this plant starts to die back this fall, the energy will no longer be going into the leaves, the flower, and the seeds. It will be concentrated into the root. So that's when you need to harvest the root of the plant, is during the fall when the energy is concentrated into that root. So today I'm going to be harvesting the flower and the leaves of this Echinacea plant. There's many different ways that you can make preparations with Echinacea to use it as medicine. You can make a tincture, which is my favorite way to use it. You can make decoctions, you can make poultices, liniment, compresses, all different ways you can use it. You can actually use the petals to make a tea. I wouldn't use the leaves because that will make it a little more bitter, but the flower petals is great to make a tea out of. All different ways to use it. But my favorite, like I said, is to make a tincture. Actually, with Echinacea, a tincture is more potent if you use just fresh leaves and fresh flowers. But I like to make a whole plant tincture to get all of the benefit from the plant that I possibly can. Today I'm going to be harvesting the leaves and the flowers because that's where the energy is concentrated right now. And then when these go to seed, I'll come back and harvest some of the seed heads. Now I'm going to take this and dry it, dehydrate it, or just hang dry it. I usually just hang dry them or lay them out flat to dry. And then I'll put them up, and then this fall, when the plant starts dying back, I'm going to come in and harvest some of the root, and then I'll use the root, my dried flowers, my dried leaves, and my dried seed heads, put it all together and make a nice, potent, whole plant tincture. You can definitely just make a tincture from the flower and leaves, and it will be a wonderful medicine for you this winter. If your plants are not as established as mine are, then you're not going to want to come in this fall and winter and harvest the root, because then you're taking your plant and you won't have a plant next year. So before you harvest the root of Echinacea, you need to give it at least 2 years and let it get established good and multiply good before you take the root. So until then, you can definitely make a tincture just using the flowers and leaves. When creating our medicinal herb seed collections, we developed these beautiful informational flashcards. So they're pretty awesome. They tell you all about how to plant it, the growing directions and conditions, and it gives you a list of the herb's actions. If you order our collections, you get a set of these informational cards, which is very, very cool. So this list of herbal actions, what that is it tells you what the benefit of the herb is. So for Echinacea, the herbal actions are antiviral, expectorant, anti-inflammatory, alterative, diaphoretic, anti-catarrhal, antibacterial, antifungal, antimicrobial, lymphatic, vulnerary, and anti-allergic. I think most everybody is familiar with Echinacea as being a great immune booster and fighting off infections and colds. But it's also a great anti-inflammatory. It helps relieve pain, it helps with cough, respiratory issues, asthma, bronchitis, and it's a natural antibiotic. It helps with skin infections, eczema, rashes, skin irritations, and it's great for anxiety and depression. So Echinacea has a list of medicinal benefits. We like to use it as a tincture. So I make up enough tincture in the summertime that it gets us through the winter time. In fact, the last time I made tincture was over 2 years ago, and we just finished it up this year. So it's definitely time to make some more tincture to put in our medicine cabinet. When you're taking Echinacea for a cold or flu or to build your immune system, one thing to really keep in mind is it's most effective if you start taking it immediately at the onset of feeling bad. If you're already deep into a cold or the flu, Echinacea is not going to be as effective. It's something that you want to take at the very first sign of not feeling well. And it's also not a herb that you want to continue to take for a prolonged period of time. I have a couple of videos that I've done in the past on Echinacea. I have one where I go into a lot more detail about Echinacea, the history, more information on the benefits and the uses, and I have one that I did on how to make an Echinacea tincture. And I will put the links to those videos in the description. Our next herb is Yarrow or Achillea millefolium. Now this one is a must-have in the garden. It is a wonderful garden plant, a wonderful companion plant, and a wonderful medicinal plant. Yarrow is an herbaceous perennial. It grows in zones 2 to 9, and it can grow in pretty much any kind of soil. It doesn't matter if it's really good, fertile, awesome soil, or if it's poor soil, yarrow will do well. In fact, once you have yarrow, you're probably always going to have yarrow. It spreads pretty profusely and will quickly take over a garden. It gets about 2 to 3 feet tall and will grow in full sun or partial shade. It's in the aster family, and it has these beautiful umbel-shaped flowers. that so many beneficial insects love, like your ladybugs and your parasitic wasp and your hoverflies. They love yarrow, which is one reason why it makes an amazing companion plant in your garden. It attracts so many beneficial insects that take care of a lot of the bad guys. So it's a beautiful companion plant in your garden. Not only does it attract your beneficials and pollinators, but it also is a wonderful fertilizer plant for your garden. Yarrow is a dynamic accumulator. What that means is it develops this very long, deep taproot. It goes down, mines up nutrients and minerals in the soil, brings it up through the plant, and if you take and chop and drop this plant, all of the leaves, everything, drop it to the ground, it adds those nutrients and minerals back into the soil. So it is a living mulch in the garden. It is a fertilizer plant. It is an attractant for beneficial insects and pollinators. And it's absolutely gorgeous in the garden and in flower arrangements. So in my opinion, even though yarrow can quickly take over your garden if you don't manage it and keep it under control, it is a must-have in your garden. Just like Echinacea, there's many different cultivars of yarrow out there. So many different beautiful colors. There's Parker's Gold and Moonshine, which are beautiful yellow ones. There's Summer Berries, and this one right here is Cerise Queen. I love it. Look how beautiful this is. This color is just gorgeous. Now I've got it mixed in right here with some different larkspurs, which are just early spring blooming wildflowers, but it's such a beautiful combination right here. I highly recommend that you grow all different kinds of beautiful yarrows, but if you're going it to make medicine, the white one, Achillea millefolium, is the most potent with medicinal properties. So grow that one for your medicinal purposes. The parts of the yarrow plant to use when making medicine is the flowers, the leaves, which are so cool. They have a ferny kind of texture to them. Very, very wispy and beautiful in the garden. And you can also use the roots. Today I'm going to just be harvesting the flowers and the leaves. Different preparations or ways to use your yarrow to create medicine would be to make a salve out of it, to infuse oils, to make a poultice or a compress or a wash or even a powder out of it, a tincture or an infusion. The way I like to use yarrow most is to make a salve out of it. It's very good for skin irritations and rash and for healing the skin. I also like to dry the leaves and crush them up really good, grind them up really good, and make like a little powder out of them, because yarrow is a wonderful styptic. It stops bleeding. So if we have a cut or scrape or something like that, get a little bit of that powder, kind of moisten it a little bit, put it on that spot, immediately stops bleeding. So I keep finely ground up yarrow powder in my medicine cabinet, and I like to make a salve out of it. I also like to make a tincture out of it because it's very good for digestive issues and has many, many benefits. Yarrow is a very bitter herb, and most of your bitter herbs are good for digestive issues, but it's not very good to take it. Like, I don't like to make a tea out of it. It's not good for just eating. It's really best to make a tincture out of it and just take it in dropperfuls to help with different issues. The actions or medicinal uses of yarrow is it is an antiseptic, anti-inflammatory, digestive, antispasmodic, astringent, diaphoretic, carminative, diuretic, antipyretic, and a styptic. So like I said before, it's really good for stopping bleeding and for healing wounds. Now, if you have a really deep cut or wound, you wouldn't want to put that yarrow on there, because what will happen is it will stop the bleeding and it will scab over on the surface, but not actually give time for that deep wound to heal. So it wouldn't be good if it's a really deep wound or cut, but just superficial cuts or scrapes, it's really great for stopping bleeding and healing that wound pretty quickly. It's an analgesic, so it's really great for pain, relieves headaches, stomach cramps, menstrual cramps. It's a great stress reliever, an anxiety reducer. It's astringent and anti-inflammatory, so it really helps for skin conditions and helps to heal up infections. It helps with colds, flus, coughs, sinus, respiratory, oral health, eye health. The list goes on, but one thing that's really cool about it, I think, is it's an antipyretic, which means that when you take it, it goes to that part of your body that really needs it. It's recommended that you do not use Yarrow if you're pregnant or you're breastfeeding. And on that note, I will make my disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a health professional, pharmacist, none of those things. I'm not even a clinical herbalist. I'm just a gardener, a designer, and somebody that has studied herbs for well over 20 years and loves herbs, and someone who believes in the power of plant medicine, because I believe that God gave us these herbs and these plants to heal ourselves. And I study it, I practice it, and I believe in it. And I just want to share information and knowledge with you about these wonderful plants that God has provided for us. But I am not a physician or any kind of practicing medical professional. So please, before you use any herbs, talk to your doctor, talk to your medical professional, because you may be taking something, some medicine or something, or you may have some kind of health problem personally that will interact and cause some kind of bad reaction if you take a specific herb. So please seek out your medical professional and do your own research and educate yourself on what is best for you and your body and your health. I have a past video going more in depth about Yarrow, and I will put the link in the video description. Next is Calendula, or Calendula officinalis, also known as pot marigold or garden marigold. Now it is totally different than a marigold. They're totally different plants, and people do get them confused sometimes. Calendula is in the aster family or sunflower family, and it is grown in most places as an annual. Now it can be grown as a short-lived perennial in zones 8B and above, but for me, I'm in 8B and it's still grown here as an annual. It does not like our intense heat. So I can grow calendula in the spring and again in the fall. But now this, when it starts getting really hot here, this is going to completely die out, and I'll start over and grow some more this fall. It likes full sun, and it will grow to 1.5 feet, sometimes 2 feet tall. It is an excellent companion plant in the vegetable garden. I have purple hull peas planted right back here, and I've got this as a companion because it draws in a lot of pollinators and a lot of beneficial insects. Hoverflies, predatory wasp, robber flies, and like I said, a lot of pollinators. So it's an excellent companion plant in the vegetable garden. It flowers profusely. I can harvest these flowers today, come out in the morning, and I'll have a whole new flush of flowers to harvest again. And that's what you want to do. The more you harvest, the more they're going to bloom, and the more flowers you'll have to make your medicine. The part of the plant used for medicine is the whole flower. These flower petals and even this part of the flower right back here has a sticky substance on it, and that sticky substance is what holds the medicinal properties. So this is the part of the plant that you want to harvest and use. Calendula flowers and leaves are edible. Now, I don't like to eat them fresh like this. I like to dehydrate them or dry them and then maybe put the flowers on a quiche, or I'm just getting into sourdough, so it'd be beautiful on a sourdough loaf. But something like that would be nice, but just eating them fresh, I'm not a fan of that. I don't like that sticky, weird substance in my mouth, and they really don't taste that great to me. But when you dry them, it's different, and I like to use them like that. There's all different kinds of calendulas, all different kinds. This right here is the Prince Mix. I have some called Strawberry Blonde, all different kinds and colors, and they're all beautiful, and they all hold excellent medicinal properties. This one is Strawberry Blonde. Isn't that beautiful? Different preparations to use your calendula. You could make tea, infused oils, salves, poultices, compresses, body butters, lotions. Like I said earlier, you can eat them, you can make a tincture out of them. My favorite way to use calendula is to make a salve out of it. I call it my gardener's salve. Actions and medicinal uses of calendula are antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, vulnerary, antispasmodic, antimicrobial, antibacterial, antiviral, and lymphagogue, and antifungal. Calendula is really great for healing and soothing skin problems. Great for diaper rash, eczema, acne, breakouts, rashes. So it's really great for any kind of skin irritations or issues. And that's what I primarily use calendula for, is I make up my wonderful gardener salve. It's also recommended that if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, not to ingest calendula. Our next herb is lemon balm, or Melissa officinalis. Now this one is not blooming yet, but I wanted to go ahead and talk about lemon balm because it's one that I'm going to be harvesting today. One of its many health benefits is it's good for thyroid issues, and specifically for Graves' disease, which is what I have. So I'm going to make up a tincture of lemon balm and another great herb that we're going to talk about in a minute. But I want to go ahead and harvest it today, so I thought we'd go ahead and talk about it as well. This is lemon balm, and it smells so good. It has this citrus fragrance to it. Lemon balm is called the gladdening herb because when you smell it, it's like aromatherapy, and it's just soothing and calming, and it lifts your spirits. That citrus fragrance is amazing. It's an herbaceous perennial, and it is in the mint family, so it can spread and become invasive. Now, it's not as bad as like peppermint or spearmint or those types of mints, because lemon balm primarily just spreads and multiplies by its seed. It's not as much of a rhizome spreader. So you can keep it a little bit tame in your garden by keeping it cut and not letting it go to seed. It's hardy in zones 4 to 10, and it likes full sun with maybe some afternoon shade. It attracts many pollinators to the garden. In fact, Melissa in Greek means bee, and it attracts a lot of bees and pollinators. But the cool thing is its fragrance is also a pest confuser. So a lot of your unwanted pests does not like the fragrance of lemon balm, like your mosquitoes and your gnats. So it also is a deterrent for your unwanted pests, but it attracts your pollinators. It's a wonderful one to have in your garden. Now, if you're starting lemon balm from seed, it does need cold stratification, and it needs light to germinate. Parts of the plant used is the leaves and flowers. It's not flowering yet, so today I'm just going to harvest some of these leaves. And like most of your herbs, the more you harvest and use them, the more they like it, and the healthier they'll be, and the more they'll grow. I also really enjoy lemon balm tea, and I like it best when it's fresh, straight from the garden and fresh. Something about lemon balm, when you dry it, it doesn't hold its flavor as long as most of your herbs. So it kind of loses its flavor and its potency. But fresh lemon balm tea is amazing. So I'm gonna harvest enough of this where I can make up a nice cup of hot lemon balm tea tonight, because it's very, very soothing and relaxing and calming. And I'm gonna harvest enough here to get a tincture started. Different ways that you can prepare lemon balm to use would be to make a delicious tea out of it, add a little honey, make a tincture, infused oils, infused vinegars, eat it by making compound butters, seasonings, pestos. I think I already said tincture and salve. The herbal actions or medicinal uses of lemon balm are digestive, anti-anxiety, antiviral, nervine, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, sedative, antidepressant, diaphoretic, carminative, and imagogue. I have a hard time saying that. Imagogue. I think that's right. So as we talked about earlier, lemon balm is the gladdening herb. It's soothing, calming, lifts up your spirits, helps with anxiety, depression. It relaxes muscles, helps you to sleep. It helps with memory and concentration and focus. Helps with digestive issues, stomach problems. Really good for inflammation, good for skin health, rashes. It's supposed to help with wrinkles. Reduces pain and inflammation, stomach cramps, headaches, muscle pains, regulates blood sugar levels, and it's really helpful with cold sores. That's not something that I've ever really struggled with, but I've always heard that lemon balm is a really good aid in cold sores. Last year I was very, very sick, and finally we found out what was wrong. I was diagnosed with hyperthyroidism and Graves' disease, which is an autoimmune disorder. And right now I am on medication. I'm on methimazole, and I keep fluctuating. I keep going back and forth to where my thyroid becomes underactive, and then I back off the medicine, and then it goes back into overactive, and he increases my medicine, and we're going back and forth and back and forth, and we can't get it level. I'm still struggling with heart palpitations, tremors, and my body temperature. There is no control on my body temperature. All of a sudden I feel like I am on fire and burning up. I can't hardly tolerate the heat anymore, and then I'll be freezing cold, and it just goes back and forth, back and forth. My muscles and joints are very weak. Like my leg muscles are not strong at all. Sometimes I have a hard time sleeping. I can be laying in the bed, still as can be. My heart's going 100 miles an hour and feels like I have been in a race. And that's what the doctor said it's like. That's what your body feels like. It's like you are running a race all the time. And that puts a lot of strain and a lot of toll on your body. So that's my struggle, and that's what I'm dealing with right now. My next appointment is at the end of July, and he has been the last 2 to 3 appointments. He has been saying to me that this is never going to get under control. The only way that you're going to be able to fix the hyperthyroidism is to have your thyroid removed. So he wants to do surgery and remove my thyroid. And honestly, I'm trying to fight that. I really don't want to have the surgery. It's not that I'm afraid to have surgery, but I'm not so sure that that's really the answer. And I'm trying to find out if there is natural things that I can do, if my body can heal itself. I know that Graves' disease is always going to be with me. Now that I have it, it's an autoimmune disorder, and I'll always have it. But my research says that it can go into remission, and you can still have a functioning, healthy, active, happy life as long as it stays in remission. So I'm trying, I am researching, I am studying, I am trying to do things to naturally heal myself, my body. I've kind of given myself this time frame to the end of July when I have my next appointment with him to try to come up with a way to naturally heal myself. I'm praying a lot, I'm asking for God's healing, and I'm searching out natural remedies and food and diet in ways that I can hopefully naturally heal my body. I am doing so much better than I was at this time last year. At this time last year, I was not functioning well at all. And the medicine, the things that I am doing now, I am doing so much better than I was. But I'm still struggling, and there's still issues, and some days it's all I can do to get out of the bed, and other days I feel fine. So this is just a little health update for all of you who followed me, who has been following me for a long time. Y'all knew my health struggles, y'all walked through it with me, y'all prayed for me, and y'all been here with me, and I just wanted to give you a little bit of a health update right there. But I said all that to say that in my research of what I can do naturally to heal or to go into remission, to put Graves' disease into remission and to control hyperthyroidism, lemon balm is one of the top herbs to use because it helps with that anxiety, it helps to calm and to relax the muscles, and helps with the pain and the inflammation in my body, helps with that nausea and that upset stomach and the digestive issues that it causes me. And lemon balm is one of the top herbs. And the other top herb that's recommended for hyperthyroidism is motherwort, and that's the one that we're going to look at next. Motherwort, or Leonoris cordacea. Leonoris in Greek means the lion's tail, and cordacea means calm. Motherwort is known as the herb for mothers. It is in the mint family, and it does spread pretty aggressively. It spreads by seed and by rhizomes. Motherwort is in our premium Hoss medicinal herb seed collection, and I started some seeds last year and planted some. I planted some over here behind my garden shed in my shade-loving medicinal little garden here, and I also planted some in my medicinal border that gets full sun. And this is the motherwort that I planted in this shade medicinal garden, and it has done really well. You can see why it's called Leonoris, or lion's tail, because when it flowers, it looks kind of like a lion's tail. Motherwort is an herbaceous perennial that's hardy in zones 4 to 8. It is in the mint family, like I said, and it does spread pretty aggressively, so it can become invasive if not kept under control. It likes full sun to part shade, but as you can see here, I have it growing in my shade bed where this hardly gets any sun at all, and it's done really well. It likes rich, moist soil, and it would really do well to be grown along the side of creek banks or the edges of a creek. It can grow to be 2 to 4 feet tall, and pollinators love it. When starting motherwort from seed, it does need cold stratification, and the seed needs light to germinate. The parts of motherwort that is used to make medicine is these flowering tops. So when it starts to develop these flowers on the ends, you'll see it on the ends, then you want to come in and just take off these tops. So you'll come down, take off maybe about a third, and that's the part of the plant that is most medicinal that you'll be making your medicine from. It is kind of sticky, so you may want to wear gloves when you do this. I'm going to harvest a good bit of this because I have more that's growing that has not started flowering yet in my medicinal border. So I'll have plenty to use, and I want to get a good tincture going. Is this not the coolest looking plant? And it so does look like a lion's tail. Very, very cool. Very cool. Motherwort is a very bitter herb. So the best preparations to do with motherwort would be either an infusion or a tincture. And a tincture is what I'm going to be doing with it. The herbal actions or medicinal uses of motherwort are: it is an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, a nervine, antispasmodic, anti-anxiety, a diuretic, diaphoretic, carminative, a cardiac tonic, a parturient. I'm not sure what that is. I'm going to have to look that action up. The reason motherwort is called the herb for mothers is because it has so many wonderful benefits for pregnant mothers, mothers giving birth, for women in general. It helps women during childbirth. It helps them with that tension. It helps to relax them. It helps to strengthen contractions, and it helps in the recovery of after having childbirth. It also helps with postpartum depression. It helps to regulate all of those female hormones that go along with being pregnant, with giving birth, with postpartum depression, female issues, menstrual cramps, PMS. It really helps to regulate all of those female hormones, and that's why it's called the herb for mothers. It's good for high cholesterol and heart health. It helps to regulate the heartbeat. It helps to calm down those heart palpitations, which is what I'm struggling with. So that's why Motherwort is one of the great herbs for hyperthyroidism and Graves' disease, because it really helps to regulate the heartbeat and those rapid heart rates. It also helps to calm you. It helps with anxiety and stress, and just acts as like a sedative and helps calm you. What I've read and researched, there's many hyperthyroid symptoms that Motherwort really helps with. The heart palpitations, controlling and regulating that rapid heartbeat, the anxiety, the regulating your metabolism, and everything that I have read and studied highly recommends Motherwort because it's a really good herb for overall thyroid health. It's also good for arthritis and Parkinson's. And Pop, Jean's dad, who lives here on the farm with us, has Parkinson's disease. So I'm going to make up this tincture, and I'm going to make enough for him as well. And he and I both are going to take this tincture and see if it will help him with his Parkinson's and me with my hyperthyroidism. Well, y'all, I had intentions to cover 7 herbs today, and so far we've only covered 5. And I know this video is going to be long. I'm going to have to do a lot of editing to get this video down to a manageable, watchable time. The other 2 herbs that I was going to talk about today was passion flower and mullein. And I don't want to rush through those because I want to spend a good amount of quality time on each herb to help give you information and knowledge that you need so that you can grow it and so that you can make medicine from it. So we are going to close the video out here right now, and our next video on herbs, passion flower and mullein, will be the first ones that we talk about. But I do want to go ahead and show them to you right now because this passion flower is absolutely incredible. And they're right here together. First of all, look at that beautiful passion flower climbing across this fence. I started that from seed from our house medicinal herb collections last year, and this is how much it has grown in 1 year. But what is so amazing about this beautiful herbaceous vine is these incredible flowers. Is that not the coolest flower you have ever seen? And this mullein plant, I planted it last year from our collection, and it has started blooming. So y'all stay tuned for my next video on herbs, and we will talk all about mullein and passion flower. But until then, you can go over to my herb playlist on the YouTube channel here, and I have a lot of different videos all about herbs. There's even one on mullein there if you want to go ahead and learn some stuff about it. There's a lot of different videos in that playlist on herbs that you can go and watch and learn about now. Also, you can go over to our website, justtogetfarms.com, and there is a section on herbs there. I have my story. I wrote a little blog of my story of how I fell in love with herbs. And there's a few herb profiles where it gives you a lot of information about some of the herbs in our collection. I have not got them all created yet, but there's a few that's in there that you could go ahead and look at. In the description of this video, there'll be a little spot that says show more, and you can click on that. And when you click on it, I'll have all of the information right there. There'll be a link to the different videos that I've talked about today. There'll be a link to the herb playlist, and there'll be a link to our website to make things easier for you. As always, thank you guys so much for spending the day with me in the garden. God bless you, and I'll see y'all next week.